All right, I have a good friend called Herzl Borochov. He lives in Rehovot. He has over there what's called a Mashiach Center or an Igros Kodesh Center. He told me the story that happened to him. He told me the story maybe 20 years ago, and it happened to him like a few years before that. So the story goes like this. In addition to his regular things, he also is a working man. But in addition to that, he goes around and puts tefillin on people. A lot of Chabad people do. There's this whole area in Rehovot, so there's stores and auto repair places and things like that. And he goes from one to the other, and he puts tefillin on people. There's one place where they auto repair body, what is it? Fixing the bodies of cars. And the people who work there, they're called the Kedoshim. Kedoshim. That's the family name, Kedoshim. Mr. and Mrs. Kedoshim. And he said, interestingly enough, the woman, she does all the hard work with the the body fixing, and the man, he takes care of the office. He's the secretary. Okay. Anyway, so he put the tefillin on the man. They're French. They were both French. French, like Moroccan Jews, French Jews. And so he got it to be very friendly with them. They became very friendly. And the man would put on tefillin. At first he didn't want to, or he did put on anyway. So he said, I have. One day they were looking very troubled. So he asked them, what's the problem? So they said, well, they have a son, and he's not growing. And they can't understand what it is. He can't grow. He's like 4 feet high, 4 feet tall, and that's it. He just stopped growing, and he's really ashamed. Doesn't want to go to school, and his friends, make fun of him. And he's now already like 15 years old, or 13 or 15 years old, and he's only like 4 foot tall. It's small. So he's and they can't figure it out why, and they went to the doctors. The doctors also can't figure it out why. It's not, a problem with hormones or something like that, or it's not, they just don't know why, it just. So he said, well, let's write a letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and see. So they say, okay, we're not really religious people. We don't this. Okay, so they wrote a letter. And they wrote the letter that the son is, he's got problems and he stopped growing and they can't figure out why. So they put it in the Igros Kodesh. The Igros Kodesh. This is already after Gimel Tammuz, when the Rebbe is not accessible in a normal way, but there's letters of the Rebbe. There's 30, I don't know what this is, 40 letters, 40 books of letters already. Think of letters of the Rebbe that the Rebbe answered people. And people, it's a small fraction of letters that the Rebbe wrote to people. This is only like, I think, in the first 20 years, the 40 years that he was Rebbe. Anyway, the letters that they have. And so the custom is that you ask a question and you can write it down if you want to. You don't have to. And you open up any one of the books and there's amazing answers. I've seen things that are just amazing. Amazing as that you can't deny that it's just talking exactly about the situation. And all the answers are in Kedusha. They're all in holy. All the advice, of course, is holy advice. Anyway, so they wrote in to Igros Kodesh, and they get an answer about circumcision, bris milah, circumcision. So Rabbi Borochov goes back to the people. Maybe they were with him when he opened it up. Anyway, so he said, well, the letter is about circumcision. Did your son have a proper circumcision? So they said, of course, we're Jews. So the wife sort of looks at the husband and gives him a nudge. He says, well, what's that? What happened? I said, well, he had a circumcision. So, well, the fact is that we made the circumcision in the hospital because all of our friends, France, and in France, you're not religious in France. And so all of our friends, they said it's foolish, it's barbaric. So we did it in the hospital with under anesthetic, and we made it. We did a circumcision, but was the doctor Jewish? No, it wasn't Jewish. This is okay. So your son officially is not circumcised. So they said, okay, one second. He's circumcised now. What has this got to do with our son growing up or not growing up? What is it? We're talking about our son's size. What has it possibly got? So he said, I have no idea. I have no idea whatsoever. But that's what the answer is. You've already been to all the doctors. It didn't help. And now it could very well be that, that it doesn't have to have much of a thing. I mean, if a child, let's say, is born circumcised, so all they have to do is take a little bit of blood out from the skin that's there, a little bit of blood, and that's it. Okay, so he said, okay, so they took him, they brought a moil to the house, and the moil examined the child, and he said, a moil is a Jewish circumciser, a person who knows how to do it, and he says that no, that here we're going to have the circumcision almost totally from the beginning, because what was done was not really a circumcision. It didn't really remove the foreskin. And so the boy said, no way, I'm not going to do it. I'm suffering enough from being small, and I'm not going to make the circumcision. Leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with Jews. I don't want to be Jewish. I don't want to be religious. I don't want a circumcision. I don't want rabbis around. Just leave me alone. I feel bad enough as it is. And, please get out of here. So they said, okay, what can we do with our son? We can't force him. And then later, who says it's going to help? What's the connection? So the Borachov said, okay. So he said, he left them. He left them. He didn't go back to that area, whatever it was, just because, not for any, intentionally. But it didn't happen to meet with them for like 2 years. 2 years, 3 years. 2 years later, he's walking, he said, in some shopping mall. All of a sudden, somebody yells to him, Rabbi Borachov. He turns around. Oh, Mr. Kadosh. He said, where have you been? Rabbi, where have you been? Why didn't you come? Why haven't you been coming around? He said, oh, I've been busy. I've been in a different place. He said, well, I'm sorry, he said, oh, I bought tefillin myself. The boy says, I bought tefillin myself. I want you to know that you did a good thing. I'm putting on tefillin now every day. And we're even starting to keep Shabbos, and it was a good thing. He said, well, what about your son? I said, my son? What do you mean, my son? He says, your son, you remember he didn't want to make a circumcision? He said, oh, yeah, my son. Oh, that's right, I forgot. He did it. He decided he was going to make the circumcision. So I said, well, how is he now? He says, how is he now? He's 6'3". He weighs 220 pounds. He's in the army. He's in the, what did they call the Handasa? The Chela Handasa is the builders. I forget what it's called in English. Anyway, he works with the the ones that they build with the tractors and things like that. He's huge. He's big. He made the circumcision. All of a sudden, he started to grow. It doesn't make any sense. All of a sudden, he started to grow. He said, I forgot totally about it. He says, you can come and you can meet him. I think what he said, he's graduated from the army. I think now he's gone, leaving the army, or something. He invited him and he came. So here we see an amazing thing. The whole story doesn't make any sense from the beginning to the end, but it's true. First of all, they're asking a book, letters, that's going to give an answer. Secondly, circumcision has something to do with somebody growing, getting big. You're removing part of a person that makes them bigger. How does it? You remove the stopper or something. What do they do? And also that the boy decided that he was going to do it, and he did it, and it worked. And also it worked so naturally they even forgot about it. That's like putting the aleph into the gola. That's like putting the aleph. Naturally, everything that's there, as soon as the obstacles are removed, then suddenly we reveal that there's a lot of good in the world that has to be revealed, and the bad automatically falls away. That's like removing the orla, removing the foreskin. So it should be to us that we should have a geula, and that the Jewish people should grow and be happy, and that the whole world will be happy. See you all tomorrow, God willing, with Mashiach now.